Welcome to the first episode of Frontal Focus, Men's Mental Health Exposed. I'm Anthony Pete.
And I'm Kevin Scott.
How you doing today, bro?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm glad to be here with you. Let's go ahead and get this thing cracking.
Man, I'm excited about what we're about to do. What are we about to do?
Well, I think, first of all, I got to just thank you for accommodating this endeavor, this honorable project. I think it's necessary. And what we're about to do, what we're about to expose is really a plethora of things. I mean, there are a lot of things that prevent men like myself, and I think you can attest to this, of not finding that safe haven, that space to really discuss things that really we just hold inside. And that really causes a lot of problems, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, relationally. So I think this is a topic that really needs to be addressed from individuals who have been through it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ways that how did we meet? Do you remember how did we meet on this level to get here? Not before, but this level.
Well, again, I recall vividly how we were at an event that my fraternity, which I forgot to mention, I am part of the greatest fraternity on the planet, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. We were doing a mental health forum, which is very near and dear to me, and I'll get into the reason why later. And you happened to be in attendance. And I didn't really have a familiarity with you and what you were and what you brought to the table and how we met. You shared some things in this setting, in this forum, that was so on point and so poignant. I was like, wow. Because we never know. We never know what people deal with on a regular basis that they try to mask. And you were so courageous and had so much transparency that I felt compelled to connect with you because your story was so aha-ish that, and here's the irony. You could see the reaction, the verbal and nonverbal reactions of what you were sharing in that audience, which was another fascinating aspect of it. So I knew then that you and I didn't think it would be this soon, but I knew you and I would get together and have this discussion.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we as men of African descent share our mental health journeys, especially when they're tumultuous, when they're rough. A lot of times we have been conditioned or brainwashed to think that if we are mentally weak for the moment, that we're weak and we're not strong. And I feel that is totally the opposite when we share those vulnerable moments. That's actually, like you said, courageous and being strong. And I'm hoping that with us sharing our stories, that we can help more people who look like us in our community get help, because it's a thing that we don't do, and we battle it alone, and some unfortunately take their own lives.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you mention that, because here's the thing. It's actually, people could look at it as almost a hypocritical pairing or inverse relationship or correlation. But the irony of it, Brother Pence, is that it takes the individual to have gone through this traumatic crisis or interruption in their mental moment, if you would, as you said, and to be able to come through that. You have to have so much courage to make yourself vulnerable and to expose yourself and what you've been dealing with to other people, because it takes a lot.
It does.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot of second guessing. I know for me personally, I had so many dark, tumultuous periods in my life to where suicidal ideation was real. Didn't know who I could go talk to. I literally sat in these dark spaces by myself, and I had decompressed to the point to where I wouldn't even, it was a challenge for me just to get out of the bed and to open the blinds to let some sunlight come in.
I've been there.
I got so much, if you can believe it or not, pleasure just sitting in that dark room.
In solitude, isolation.
Absolutely. And we're not supposed to function like that. We are social beings. We need that intimacy. So I knew something was wrong. And then you throw in, I got a lot of wreckage from my military experience. I'm a veteran, Marine Corps veteran of the Persian Gulf War. Saw a lot of things while I was enlisted during my military service. And being diagnosed with that. I guess we could talk about that as well. Being diagnosed. Okay, I'll hold off. Let's see you want to hold off
Yeah.
on that. Okay.
Before we go
Yeah.
into diagnosis,
Okay.
I want people to understand who you are as a mental health professional,
Okay.
because we probably should have did that first. But who are you? What's your mental health background?
I've already mentioned that I am a veteran of the Marine Corps. I'm a Persian Gulf War combat era veteran. I've been counseling, if you would, or mentoring young Black males since 1996. It first started in North Carolina, a year before I became affiliated with the greatest fraternity on the planet. I actually won the North Carolina Governor's Award for volunteer mentoring. And I had some success with these young men, but these reoccurring themes kept occurring. So I went and got some certifications. I'm a certified state of Michigan peer support specialist. I'm a state of Michigan certified peer recovery coach. I'm a state of Michigan certified health worker. I'm a nationally certified commission on correctional health care professional. I'm a nationally certified commission on correctional health care certified mental health professional. I also I have a bachelor's of science, magna cum laude. I have a master's degree, both in the discipline of criminal justice, and I am currently working on my doctorate in community care and counseling with a concentration in traumatology. So I specialize, my forte, my area of expertise is trauma.
And your life experiences brought you to those decisions for your educational background.
Absolutely. We all go through storms.
Yeah.
I went through storms that lasted years, decades, took me to places that I didn't want to go. And I had to literally, only by God's grace and mercy, was I able to reinvent myself. And I understand now this rejuvenation, if you would, this rebirth was to put me in this chair to do what I was called to do. I get calls from across the country from young men who look like me and you, dealing with suicidal ideations, dealing with trouble in their marriage, scared to talk about it, financially, spiritually, and emotionally bankrupt. And I knew then that I had to make myself available to these individuals. First of all, Brother Pence, to let them know that they are not alone. And once that revelation came, just to see the healing work, because we underestimate what we do. And I'll share a little narrative later on. But what you're doing is so powerful. What you're doing, because even though some of us need to hear this, we can't tell you thank you, but we'll listen. We'll listen. And it's powerful when you hear somebody else tell their story and you can identify with that pain. You can identify with that sense of hopelessness and despair. Like you said, isolating yourself, because that's what it's about. There was a time where social interaction I loathed it. I avoided it like the plague. I don't want to be around no one. And I'm an upbeat, happy guy. I stay laugh, funny, all, but I didn't want no parts of that.
I understand. I got a question. So because it happens, what should a brother's response be when someone comes to him and say, "Hey, I'm down. I'm in a dark place. I'm actually considering taking my own life." What what's the best response for that?
I think first we have to understand that I'll preface it by saying this. Suicidal ideations, society has viewed it as taboo, so we want the person to stop having those thoughts. I think that is counterintuitive. If the thoughts come, those are natural thoughts. It is the acting upon those thoughts and having a definitive plan to complete suicide is where the intervention needs to come in. So when someone expresses that particular desire to you, I think the first thing that we tell them is that I appreciate you being honest. Can we talk about why? Can we look at some other options than that? Be candid. Why do you feel that this is your only option at this time? Are you open to getting help? And I think once we engage in those conversations, that a lot of times we can work upstream instead of downstream and avoid having those tragic, unfortunate funerals because we've lost someone. And it's difficult. It is difficult. We can't, we're not superheroes. I want to make sure that is exponentially clear. We're not superheroes. Unfortunately, we can do our level best clinically and professionally, and we don't end up with the outcomes that we desire. And it is very unfortunate.
So when on the flip side, what methods or routes for healing for those who have, because I know this situation have happened a few times where somebody may come to us and we may not take them serious and they have unalived themselves. What roles to forget self-forgiveness or should one take?
Can you repeat your question again? I want to make sure that I heard it.
So when a loved one comes to you or a
Mhm.
friend or family or someone comes to you and tell you that they're feeling that way and you don't take them serious and they wind up unaliving themselves, then what should we do in order to heal ourselves? Because a lot of people deal with the fact that they didn't help or they didn't hear the signs and they feel guilty for what their loved ones done.
Absolutely. And that's a great question. And there is no textbook answer for that. Unfortunately, I believe those individuals will carry a certain level of guilt. First of all, what they do is they're going to question themselves. Uh, why didn't I take that person serious? Or how did I miss these signs? And we have to be honest that sometimes we don't have the answers. Sometimes we don't want to deal with those situations. So we'll block them out, unfortunately, because it's too much for us. And who's to say that the individual that they went to wasn't dealing with their own crisis? So maybe they didn't even have the attentiveness to sit in that space with them, because you have to be intentional. We have to be intentional when it comes to healing. And far as them healing themselves, forgiveness. I know that some wounds can be very deep and they can be very wide, but forgiveness is the key for a lot of healing. It was for me. I had to forgive myself for a lot of things before I could embark on truly putting the pieces together, letting those rays of sunshine come in, being able to talk about it, to articulate it, to verbalize it. It is a process. It is a process that I still work at. I still work on forgiving myself.
What gave you the strength or the wherewithal to acknowledge that you needed help?
Man, okay, I'm gonna pivot a little bit. Man, my life was out of control, bro. I'm gonna keep it 100. You
Okay.
know, I'm about to just be transparent, bro.
Let's go.
I was living a crazy lifestyle. I'm talking about crazy. I'm engaged in all this maladaptive behavior. I ain't living right
Mhm.
in no aspect of it. Like I told you, man, my trauma took me to places I did not want to go. Now you can fill in the blanks for what you want to, bro. I qualify for all of it. I check all the boxes. And I never forget I met a individual on one of these journeys that I was on when I was sitting in one of these palatial timeshares around the state of Michigan.
Interesting.
You understand? And this gentleman who we are the complete antithesis of one another. This was an older white male. And he said, Kep, do you know how many lives you can change? And I'm like, yeah. People would, when I was on my destructive journey, my own family would tell me, how could you live like this? How could you do this? Why would you got too much intelligence? Intelligence ain't got nothing to do with trauma. Trauma don't respect your ethnicity, age, level of education, socioeconomic status, what kind of car you drive, what your title is, how much money you got in the bank. It don't respect, it could care less about that.
Man.
So for me, I was like, and when he kept telling me this, he kept telling me this. And then one day, after I went through my own turmoils where, you know, my family didn't want to be around me, you know, I'm on one, bro. And I remember sitting in one of them palatial timeshares. The Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Because if you go back to this lifestyle, you're going to die. I didn't want to die. And it wasn't easy. It was not easy. I struggled terribly in the beginning, but then God's grace and mercy, it always does, showed up. Things started changing. Things started happening for me. And eventually, I started living a life that I was worthy of having. And that's the thing. I just saw your facial reaction that people don't think they're worthy of having the life that they desire.
The fact that you said you started living the life that you were worthy of having. Because it's a lot of times when people are down low and they know that they should be doing better.
Yes, indeed.
And they know, but they just keep getting in the repetitiveness of the depression that I know for me, it'll come at a time when everything's going great.
Oh, man.
It's like, man, business is well, the kids are well, bills are paid, lots of money in the bank. Why am I depressed?
Man.
I have absolutely no reason to be here. And, you know, you start talking back to yourself and, you know, well, talking back to those thoughts
Exactly.
and those reoccurring traumas. And okay, yeah, that happened. But one thing that I have learned to do was connect the dots.
Mm-hmm.
For every negative or horrendous thing that happened, there's always been a positive outcome. Had I not gone through that, I wouldn't be here. So that's one of the things one of the methods that I use is combating those thoughts and talking back to the negative thoughts because they will get you in. I don't have it together. Like when that day, I told you, I said, I just came out from being at home for almost 3 months where I did nothing but get up, go back to bed.
And that was so funny because your story resonated so powerfully with me. I'm like, man, I ate that cereal before.
Mm-hmm.
You talking about that success. Let me tell you something. Successes can be terrible.
Yeah.
It can be scary. I was the king of self-sabotaging behavior when I became successful.
And sometimes you wonder, like, is this real? Is this gonna happen to me? And you're looking for the pitfall.
Looking for it.
It's like kind of sort of, am I really deserving? Is this really what's about to happen next? And then you're looking over your shoulder, you're like, something's about to happen.
I had to this is gonna sound crazy. I had to relearn how to be happy. I had to relearn how to live life in a non-destructive, maladaptive form. Because I was so used to, like you said, could go them 3-4 months of doing very well on top Man, let me tell you again, back to full transparency. In 1998, I believe, I was the highest certified minority in corporate security for IBM on the East Coast and probably in the top 10% of the country. I told myself at the time I was going to be debt free. I wanted to drive a Benz and have a home. Had all that. So what will possess me to listen to them demons to tell me to go back out there to the streets? What will compel me to do that is what you just talked about. That low self-esteem. And here's the one thing about trauma. It can lay dormant. It can lay so dormant, and we never know what will trigger us
Sneaky.
to go into these hamlets and bastions of deep, I'm talking about into the dungeons of our inner minds and tell ourselves we are unworthy of all of this.
Mhm.
Now we're compromising, like you said, relationships, marriage, parental connections, familiar ties. We are disassociated from all of that. And that amelioration process can take years to come back around to fruition.
So, what are some steps or some methods that others who are dealing, who can resonate with what we're saying, what steps can they take to start to get themselves out of this self-destructive pattern?
That's a great question. And I'm going to make it very, very simple. I think there are three things that must be present.
Must.
I think that they must be present. And I'll tell you why. First, we have to have a positive practice or routine that we go through every day, whatever that is for you. Okay. At one point in time on my journey back, I would get up and I would read 5 self-motivational, inspirational books every morning. One was by T.D. Jakes. The other one was by, it was called Black Pearls. There was another one called, can't believe I can't call the author's name, it'll come back to me, but it was John C. Maxwell's Daily Reader
Mhm.
for Leaders, Daily Planner for Leaders. I would read that every day. Of course, I read the Bible, and there was one, Touch Tones. It was a Touch Tones book on for recovery. I would read those every day.
So that's called bibliotherapy, by the way.
Absolutely. That's
Mhm.
called absolutely it is. So I would do that. Now I've ingratiated those positive affirmations into my daily routine. So this is what happens, Brother Pence. When you don't have that, you go a day or two, you can maybe go a day or two. On that third day, you're telling yourself, I ain't read today.
I'm good. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't read today, but I'm gonna come back to so then and then it has to be my second thing is consistency.
Mhm.
For me, I walk every morning, and I've been doing this for years. I walk every morning. I get that releases those good feeling endorphins. So
Mhm.
now I've done something good, healthy for myself. I've got these positive affirmations in me. That's good. So that's first routine, consistency, and the third thing that you have to tell yourself that I feel is important to give yourself some praise. Allow yourself some grace. Even when you don't do it that day, say, you know what? Okay, today I done hit my mark, but we're gonna try again tomorrow. Never condemn yourself. Never tell yourself, well, I don't do it. Even to this day, when I find myself going through those periods of self-doubt, and I've had them, I've gone through bouts of depression even recently.
Mhm.
And I have to tell myself, like, you know what? Enough of this. Let's get back to the grind. Cause this ain't doing nothing for you. We ain't gonna stay, we ain't gonna stay here. So that's what I feel those things are very important.
Yeah. That's the tricky part because it'll come.
They'll
It
come.
can come. I remember one time I'd I left the city and I went away for undergrad. And I remember life just being different and great. And then the past would just come. I remember walking on campus and like feeling the euphoria, and then the past just come through just like a reminder.
Mhm.
And for years, it would constantly do it and bring me down
Mhm.
until I was able to learn how to fight back mentally.
Yep.
Because some of those things can can instantaneously kill your mood. And it seems as if, and I don't know where people are spiritually, but if there's a devil, he really knows how to play mind
Absolutely.
trick.
Absolutely.
And he will come and feel that joy.
What?
Man, you
That is
know,
that's his biggest task, is to make you feel, man, you just, Brother Bill, I'm telling you, it was days where, and here's the irony of it. We have all this, I call it therapeutic capital in our
mhm,
lives. Everybody does, because we've all been through something. We've all overcome something. We've all been through a crisis or a storm, and we've come through it. So we have this residual intestinal fortitude that shows us we have, like you said, the internal wherewithal to see it through, the stick to itiveness, if you would. But like you said, that devil will come and make you think you ain't never got through nothing in your life. He would take, since we both have a college experience, he used to tell me all the time, that degree don't mean nothing. Your education don't mean nothing. What is it doing for you now? You still just depressed.
mhm.
You still want to kill yourself, or at least thinking about it. So what is your education? I mean, that devil's, those negative self-talk thoughts, they are real. And here's the thing, you hear them only in the manner in which you can hear them to make the power of this destructiveness come to fruition. Because on our good days, on Kevin's good day, he would never entertain those suicidal ideations. I mean, they're fleeting, so I would just dismiss them and say, "You're right, devil, get behind me."
Mhm.
But on them bad days, Prince, that thing would ruminate, and it'll cause me to sit for hours, depressed, not wanting to eat, not wanting to take a shower, none of that, not change my clothes. And another thing, I think, far as since we're talking about mental, we have got to know our cues. We have got to know when our daily routine is to the point where it is off kilter. We can go through something, but we all know we have to know our red flags where this is more destructive than just having a bad day.
I have like I said, I think that day that I've been dealing with it so long that I know
Hmm.
like it's coming, down is coming. And I have, like you said, some things that I can look. Like if I'm super busy and I look around in my place and it's dirty, like, this is like how it gets when I get depressed. Even if I'm like not there,
Hmm.
and a few days later, if I don't make some changes, it's boom. And I'm full blown depression, full blown in the house.
Hmm.
I would joke sometimes like I can afford to be depressed because I can look at my bank account and be like, oh, I could survive another month, another two, another three.
Absolutely.
Let me go back in here.
Absolutely.
But I found that because I don't take medication,
Okay.
I found that the solitude for me helps me
Hmm.
because one, I don't go out and ruin other people's day
Yeah, I get you.
because people they can sense that.
Hmm.
And then a lot of times you don't want to answer questions and everything else. But I dealt with it for so long that I know that it's temporary.
Yeah.
And that after this, I'm going to get over this hump.
Hmm.
And then it's going to be a part where I'm going to be like, life is so amazing. I remember when I was so depressed and had I given into some of those thoughts, I wouldn't be here at this moment to
Absolutely.
experience this joy. So that's something that I always hold on
Hmm.
to when I'm in that dark space because I know it's coming.
You mentioned a great point. Far as, if your house is dirty, but you got all this money in the bank. For me, it could be If my desk is just cluttered, I mean, it's disorganized, that is a flag for me. Yeah. I mean, that is a flag because I am a very organized individual. And if I got paper stacked up, books, that is, it's a sign. It's a sign that even though, like you said, things can be going great, something internal is wrong. And
Hmm.
I just haven't pinpointed it yet. Because
Couple more days.
this is absolutely, because this is an outward sign
Hmm.
of internal turmoil. It may be at a moderate or lower level, but it has manifested itself in a behavior, and that's what it does. And we need to understand that. So I'm glad that you brought that out. Our internal turmoil, our hidden invisible wounds will always manifest themselves in an outward, tangible, finite, concrete behavior.
Wow. So, is there any remedy for that?
Again, emotions have to have their space. So if you're asking, can we remedy our emotions? I would say the answer would be we can't remedy our emotions, but what we can do is we can put in place what I call coping tools or what they call coping tools or wellness tools that we use. Uh, I'm also a certified RAP facilitator. RAP stands for Wellness Recovery Action Plan. And it's a 9-step plan that you sit down and you design while you're well, when you're living your best life of who and what you want to be in place when you go through these periods. It is, it's phenomenal. It can work for anything. It's not just for individuals who are maybe struggling with their mental health. It can, a RAP plan can assist you with relationships, job, advancements, almost, I mean, any phase in life, dealing with your kids. I mean, it is phenomenal, uh, the work of it, and it's evidence based. So I think that once, like going back to me, once I find myself getting like that, if I don't go walk, I have to make myself. There are days I have literally stopped and made myself in the middle of stress, just go walk right now. Because nothing else matters. You need to release this negative energy. Go walk. Because what you've done now is you've distracted it. You've diverted your attention to something else. For me, it's being outside, hearing other sounds that are natural, feeling the sun, whether it's winter or summer. I'll walk outside no matter what it's doing, rain, sleet, snow, hail, I don't care. Because that's what I need. That is part of my routine.
Interesting. Interesting. So, what's your objective? Did I ask this question already? What's the objective of this podcast?
No, you didn't. I'm glad you did. You asked that. Because I think our objective is number one, is to give individuals a safe haven. Here's the key. If I don't feel safe talking to you about what's bothering me, I'm never going to say a word. I got to trust you. And how we build that trust is by understanding that you went through something, the exact same thing or something very similar. Because we all know if we've ever had those thoughts, you ain't got to tell me what them thoughts feel. I know. I ain't got to tell you because we know. So you and I know.
Hmm.
We know what it's like to sit in them rooms, isolate ourselves, to put that mask on and go out in public.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. How a lot of times people can find it hard to conceive that we battle because they're like, "Hey, you always cracking jokes, you
Always.
so upbeat," and it's like that's because I am, and I'm trying to get well through laughter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And which is very therapeutic, which is another reason why we can't isolate ourselves because now, even though I've made fun of myself plenty times during, during my depression. You know, I'm like, man, how are you depressed?
Hmm.
This don't make no sense for you to be this depressed. How could you even think like this? You know, I'm like, man, something really wrong with you. And then I laugh, but you can do something about it. That's what I would tell myself. You can do something about it. You don't have to stay in this space. You don't have to stay right here. And it's funny. I chuckled when you just made that comment about, because that mask is horrible, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got plenty of them.
Yeah.
We got plenty of them. What mask you want me to put on today? You know. But the objective of this is to allow other individuals to understand first that you're never alone. You are never going through something that no one else hasn't been through. They maybe just not have spoken on it, which leads into the next segue. Provide a safe space. People will listen to podcasts like this when they're depressed to pick themselves up, to know that it is only temporary.
Temporary.
And that's the key, it's temporary. If we use the tools and we get the knowledge and the information. I believe in psychoeducation. What do I mean by psychoeducation? I believe everything is, and this is the digital generation we live. You can go to anything, Google it, Google your symptoms. No, we don't like labels, I get that, but sometimes labels help us to heal. I can't treat you for something if I don't know if it ain't been diagnosed. I can't treat you for diabetes if I can't find that your sugar is low. I can't treat you for hypertension if I don't know your blood pressure ain't high. I have to know what I'm dealing with.
You said diagnose, and it brought me to this. What do you have to say for people who get a diagnosis and it's difficult for them to accept?
This is what I tell them. That's a natural response, because who wants to be told that? You think I wanted to be told that I suffer from depression? But I knew something was wrong with me. So finally, after my military service, quick story, I go into the VA because I know something's wrong with me. I'm pretty sure it's PTSD. In 1989, I was involved in a motor vehicle accident. This was my second near-death experience in a motor vehicle accident. When I was in Panama going to get the Rio Noriega. I knew I was different ever since that accident. Broke my neck, back, have had so many surgeries. So even that, we have to do another podcast on that, but so when you're dealing with health issues on top of that. So now I know I ain't myself physically. That brought on some more trauma, some more mental health issues. So I go to find out what's going on. They tell me, I didn't get officially, if you would, diagnosed. Now this took place in 1989. Do you know it wasn't until 2021 that the VA finally said, you know what, you might have PTSD?
Wow.
Yes. So although we might not want to hear the diagnosis, I think it's important, can be a very vital cog in helping us to heal and remedy that diagnosis. I think it's very important.
Well, that's a good way to end this podcast. I believe you have a couple brothers lined up to come in and talk to us.
Yes, I do. And I think that after hearing and seeing this, we're going to have more than just a couple. I think this is, and I got to thank you, Brother Pins. I'm seriously, probably from the bottom of my heart, because this takes courage. It takes courage to get out in front of these issues. But if you just knew how many calls I get from brothers and from men who are not the brothers, who just come to me with their stories, looking for this healing conduit. And you are providing that. So I commend you for that, brother. Take my hat off to you.
Hey, this is just like mine. Like, let's do it.
Absolutely.
So
this will wrap up this week's session of Frontal Focus, Men's Mental Health Exposed. It's frontal cortex, ain't it? No, it said frontal focus.
Cortex, you shot that one down.
Oh, did I? You got the wrong one in here.
We gonna leave all this here.
Yeah, you're right.
No, but it's frontal focus.
Frontal focus.
It was cortex. You got frontal focus.
Well, frontal got it right there. Frontal focus, men's health exposed. That's what it was.
Look, man, it's frontal focus. Frontal focus, men's health exposed.
I got it. Frontal focus, men's health exposed.
Frontal focus, men's health exposed.
Frontal focus, men's health exposed.
Frontal focus, men's health exposed. I wanted to name it the frontal cortex.
I want you to introduce this to the chat. I want you to do it.
You want me to do it?
Yeah, I want you to do it. Bruhs was so blown away by your story. Yeah, man, because, not knowing, people that just think you weird.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. I get that all the time.
No, seriously. Just, you know what I'm saying? And I might have even been guilty of that. And then as soon as you said, I was like, that's why. No, now it makes sense.
See the dude better. You sorry for me? Because I wanted to get his confession that he thought out. So let me tell you. I'm
gonna tell you. Because when the few times that I would see you, just when we would be out,
oh, I'm playing with shit.
ain't no question. And I'm like, so I'm like, what the hell's wrong with dog? You know what I'm saying? How come he don't be upset? Why don't he be around the bros? But then you told me why you didn't be around. When you told me why, how you got disappointed and let down, that's another thing we're gonna have to talk about. When you touched on it tacitly, but when you go to that person and you don't feel that they,
Man.
which
So 2015 or 16.
like I did with the V8, dog, I'm trying to tell you, I know what that feel like.
I said I'm going to stop hiding this.
Yeah.
I'm going to, whenever I'm down and out, I hope you're still rolling. Whenever I'm down and out, if somebody asks me how I'm doing, I'm going to tell the truth. And I told the truth. And I told the truth to a lot of brothers.
Yeah, when you told
and I told the truth to a lot of brothers in high positions.
You told me
and
that.
Brothers that you would, and I
me that.
never exposed who they are.
Y'all know
but
that.
they let me down. And I'm like, I'm not doing well. I'm thinking about, I sat in somebody's car and I think they may not have noticed, but I was shedding tears.
Yeah. But see, when you in that
shit, ain't nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, when you in that kind of pain, bro, I'm trying to tell you, because I done had the 4/5 of my lap. I'm telling you, I was there, ready to go. And by God's grace and mercy, I told myself, I could never leave this burden on my sons. I could never do that to them.
Man, I say ever since my daughter was born, I've always had a reason to live.
Ain't no question, bro. Ain't no question.
And I can tell you that there's been so many times where I've lost the will to live, but because I had my daughter and my son, it was no longer an option.
No longer. Thank you. And that's when I to ask you, can we explore? We got to take this off the table. I mentor guys that's locked up right now. I'm telling you, you have no idea the individuals who called me. And it's a young man who I'm mentoring as we speak that's been locked up 8 years now, who dealt with this all the time. He would call me. And his thing was he wants to just go to that hill. I'm like, we got to stay off that hill. We got to think of other options other than that hill. He would call and tell me, I just can't thank you enough. I got letters from him. I just got a voicemail the other day from a veteran who I had a tough time. He was very problematic, but he left me a voicemail that made me emotional, man, saying he just wanted to tell me that the words when I worked with him just wasn't in vain, that he listened to everything I said. He's changing his life. He's getting his life turned around. He just wanted to tell me thank you. I mean, just this work is, you can't put a price tag on what we do. You can't put a value on this. This is truly, we do this, man, because we don't want nobody else to go through the pain we've been through, man. It's just that simple, man. And here's the thing I'm gonna tell you. It's somebody waiting on you to help them because they're going through the exact same thing. And they're gonna and your story gonna resonate with them so strong. And they're gonna come back and tell you, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. I'm trying to tell you.
Man. Amen.